Hello, friends, and welcome to the Friendlies Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jack Peglow. The other host is Rob Wong, and he's probably the better of the two. I don't know why I tried to slide him just then. Maybe because I'm jealous? Who knows? But we got a big week. We got a lot to talk about. Rob, how you feeling?
It was an exciting day. And we had some technical difficulties. This is the second time recording, so Ethan, you're gonna get a shorter shout out this time. But our friend Ethan deserves a shout out because I'm usually the hype man out of our group.
You are.
And I didn't think we were gonna see the PlayStation console today. Ethan was a firm believer that we were gonna see it today, and we saw it and then some. So he's been grilling me about it all day long. So yeah, he deserves all the credit here as the hype man for the day, and that's why he gets this shout out to start the podcast.
I appreciate you doing that right out the gate, so you wouldn't forget. It's good work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So let's dive right in, shall we?
Please do.
News this week. We'll start out with a brief moment of silence for E3. It would have been this week, and yet it is not because the world went to shit. So we're gonna pour one out for E3. We were gonna do a segment about E3 memories, but we honestly probably do not have the time. So maybe another week.
Maybe next week.
I also want to do a quick shout out to some more people in the gaming industry who are stepping up to the plate, doing good things for protesting, for Black Lives Matter, all the above. Just some of the major highlights that I've seen this week. Smash Bros. Pro Samsora raised $13,000. Actually, he raised $20,000 in a single day, just doing streaming goals and whatnot. That's dope. Astro did something cool where they were putting out statements from people that work for them, people of color. They literally just like gave them their social feeds and were like, say what you want to say, which is cool.
Do a social media takeover.
Yeah. Going back to something we highlighted last week, we weren't sure whether Nintendo was actually going to make a concrete statement, and boy, did they this week.
Mm-hmm.
Both Nintendo and the Pokemon Company.
It was actually one of the better statements from a company standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I think topped only by Bungie, who I want to give a huge shout out to because they were out big time protesting in Seattle. The CEO of the company was out protesting, which is dope.
Was he the one that got pepper sprayed?
He was. That's correct.
That's right. Yeah, I remember reading that.
And then I want to give a bigger shout out to it's not the official account because the official account is Japanese, but what has basically become the de facto official North American account for Bloodborne has gone full on. They've been radicalized. They are in the resistance. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, everyone's a part of that, and we gotta fight the good fight against Father Gascoigne.
He has, and it's gone so far as like people that are responding like, "You're a video game." He's like, "Shut up." I love it. I love that energy.
Oh, it's great. It's great seeing the clapbacks by a lot of these like company handles, like not by individuals.
Like I said, it's not an official one, but it like basically became one.
Yeah, I mean, it also means that like whoever's running those social media accounts like have the say so and like the full like blessing of whoever is their boss to like do so, which is awesome.
Totally. So yeah, Good to see. Bravo. But speaking of Bloodborne, news dropped this week that it may be getting a remaster and a PC port. And I got to tell you, after looking at some footage of another game that we saw today at the PlayStation event, the potential for a remastered Yarnum is almost sexually arousing for me.
I think the rumor here is that I think PC Games have their event on what, Saturday or Sunday, and the rumor is it'll be
something like that
there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean that's another reason to tune in to the. I mean, I built my PC just this past winter, so I'm in that demographic now. So definitely gonna tune in to watch.
Did you ever play it?
Bloodborne?
Mm-hmm.
I did. I threw my controller away at Father Gascoigne and never played it again.
Oh my man! Yeah, you need to play it.
These games aren't for me, man. We can get into this discussion another time, but yeah, these games are not for me. But I understand why people love them.
Oh, Bloodborne is one of my all-time favorites. It's incredible. Moving on, EVO Online posted its official schedule. You can go to their Twitter account. It has everything you need to know. The real thing of note is that they have designated different regions. So there's 3. Region 1 is the US, Canada, and Mexico. Region 2 is Japan, South Korea. Region 3 is Europe. So since this is all online, basically there's going to be like 3 winners for every different game.
Which is kind of sad.
It's sad, but it's also like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, this feels like, just like a regional champion versus like a World Cup, so.
It was I mean, this was already never going to be like as prestigious as winning LAN EVO.
Yeah. But still.
Got to do as best they can to keep the lag spikes down.
Take home the nods. Take home that accolade of like, I won a competition in EVO the year of COVID. Like,
Hell yeah.
It's that godforsaken year of 2020, I won an award. So take that home.
Be lame as hell. Abuse that Wi-Fi, baby. I'm all for it. People always get so mad about fighting games, shooting games. If they think you play lame, people get so mad. I'm like, who cares how you play if you win? That's the whole point.
Yeah, as long as you're not cheating. If you're adjusting the system or like bending
unplugging
the system
your router.
to your will to make it work, like within the rules of the game, I think that's all fine. But as long as you're not cheating.
What are they going to prove? I'm not totally familiar, so forgive me if this is just totally speaking on my ass, but like you're allowed a little bit of a tilt in pinball, right?
I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. Who knows? We should move on because I don't know what I'm talking about. Some bad news. Not bad news, just news. EA Play has been delayed. Was going to be the end of this week. It's now going to be June 18th. Is that next week? That's the end of next week?
That's next Thursday.
A week from today.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what's worse.
No Madden news until next week, basically.
I don't know what's worse. Like, do you think they changed it because they saw the Sony thing happening on the 11th?
I think they just, they saw people getting out of last week and followed suit.
Yeah, and they can't even do like next Friday either because that's freaking Last of Us Day. So like no one's gonna care about what EA has to offer.
Yeah. So it goes. People are moving stuff. Good news. The Switch last month hit a pretty big sales milestone.
Ooh.
I'm just going to quote this article from goldencasinonews.com.
Is that trustworthy?
Always. They're probably quoting an actual person, but so it goes. By the end of February 2020, the number of sold Nintendo Switch units rose to 51.5 million worldwide. However, with a global surge in video games playing amid coronavirus lockdown, a new 4.2 million units of the popular console were sold in March alone, with a combined number reaching 55.7 million. So that's the big milestone, 55 million units sold.
Crazy.
Analyzing by geography, North America represents the leading region in Nintendo Switch sales, with 20.61 million units sold there as of May. Europe and Japan follow with 14.3 and 13.4 respectively.
I mean, let me ask you a question just on this, like just a random ballpark question. If you were to give me, legitimately, as I just said, a ballpark estimate, if coronavirus is happening, but if it didn't affect the supply chain, what number do you think that would be at? Especially here in the
it's
US.
hard because like that also changes demand, so we don't know if people would be as ravenous as they are currently, you know?
You think so? I think they would be just as much the same if we're still like at shelter in place.
Oh, so you're saying like COVID is happening, but it just didn't affect the supply chain.
Yeah.
Got you. Who knows? Because Nintendo, even when they have a supply chain running, is still running scarce. So maybe you have an extra like 5 million units. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends, she just got her Switch last week because she's been wanting to play Animal Crossing, and it took her 2 weeks of being on like alert on Twitter of like Wario64 and like nowinstock.net, like all of those sites. It took her 2 weeks.
Have I ever told you that when I originally bought my Switch, I actually paid above market value from like a secondhand vendor?
Did you?
It was actually like they were doing it for like a charity. Like I got like a certificate because all the profit that they made, they donated, which was how I justified it.
Got it.
And I really wanted to play Zelda.
You didn't pre-order the console like the rest of us plebeians. You decided to do one better than all of us, is to donate as you made your purchase.
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't buy the new consoles right away. I'm not that early of an adapter. It's usually, I mean, it depends. The Switch was pretty quickly because I got it in February, I think, and it dropped in like October, November?
Yeah.
Something like that. But I think I waited a full like 7 or 8 months before I got the PS4. Just because, I mean, there wasn't anything on it really, which I feel like is going to be the case again until February. But we'll get to that.
More numbers.
Yeah, speaking of numbers, The Last of Us, even though it's only pre-orders, is already breaking records. They saw the largest numbers of pre-orders in PlayStation exclusive history. This was originally Brazil, but now it's everywhere. So God of War was the previous record holder for pre-orders in Last of Us. I think probably expectedly passed him on up.
Do you think it's because of like the ease of the game? Like, I'm not saying that The Last of Us is an easy game to play, but it definitely doesn't require as much skill playing and like dexterity as you did when you were playing God of War.
Maybe that's the fringe thing. I think it's just because Last of Us 1 was such a phenomenon that this is just riding that momentum.
I can see that.
Because like, think about God of War. I mean, yeah, it's a very well-known franchise, but there hadn't been one in a while, and this was a big departure from the previous formulas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I think we might have a bigger... I think that number might be bigger once we get God of War 2 announced.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is something where like the record holder is going to be like the most recently released big first-party IP.
Yeah, it's going to constantly change.
I'm gonna skip ahead a couple of these little ones.
Hit me with it.
Overwatch League is still having some issues. So it goes. Do you want to get into the Monolith stuff that was talked about this week? Because I know you were kind of really hype about it.
I was.
So for context, Monolith Soft did a bunch of interviews this week, and paraphrasing, basically what came out of it was that the company was formed to make XENOGEARS, and it kind of fell off. But what they're saying and the way that they're saying things makes some people think, I'm not sold, but I think, Rob, you might be, that we may be getting a XENOGEARS remake.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold on it, but I do think that there is a group of people that work at Monolith Soft that still have an affinity and like a emotional attachment to that IP, that it's very much possible, because you look at all the Xenoblade games that have come out so far, like the regular Xenoblade games, and then the Xenoblade Chronicles X, and even Xenosaga, if you want to go real back. A lot of it takes from much of the original Xenogears game, and their love for like robots and the mech units.
Sort of how like Destiny was born out of Marathon, which was influenced by Halo, like.
Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if some people in that camp and that studio are just like, let's redo that. Like it's arguably one of the best RPGs ever made in terms of story, and even at the time was like just acclaimed. And the fighting system in it was just ridiculously cool, because it like, yeah, I can go into the details.
It built the foundation for the amazing combat systems in the most recent Xenoblade games, like.
And it also like put in a lot of little details that you needed to do, like especially with like your mech, like you always needed to refuel it before you went out like on another story mission. Like you use up your fuel gauge like as you do moves, like when you're fighting in random battles too, so you need to like take that into account. There's just so much that they did in that game, and the characters of course were great, and all that. So yeah, I mean, I'd be stoked if they redid it. I mean, I'm at this point with Monolith Soft, the only thing I'm asking for is just like a port of Xenoblade Chronicles X, because I think that's the most like spiritual successor to Xenogears, stylistically. And I would love to replay that game, because I did play that on the Wii U, and I loved it. So I would love to have that on the go.
Did you see the image they put out? So the reason they were doing so many interviews this week is because it was the company's 10th anniversary. The Friendlies account retweeted it, but they had all of the protagonists from Chronicles 1, 2, and then X. So they haven't forgot about it.
Yeah, and they left X on a cliffhanger. Like they left it way wide open so that they could do a sequel. I was kind of hoping this would be like a Call of Duty type situation where they went to Xenoblade Chronicles, then to like X, then back to Chronicles, then back to X. They haven't done that yet, so we'll see what they've been working on. I mean, the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 team has been working on something at the very least.
Yeah, so I actually have a quote on that. I'll read that real quick. They recently confirmed the studio has 3 separate development teams, one of whom is working on a new game. Previous rumors have said that this will be a medieval fantasy RPG, though it's possible that the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has taken priority over that. It's not confirmed that they're doing a Chronicles 3, but they're doing something with Xenoblade. Yeah. Meanwhile, Monolith is also assisting with the development of Breath of the Wild sequel, just as they did with the first game.
Yeah, it's funny how like if you want to know like just a cool like story of gaming history, it's like going back and looking at Monolith and like how they were created and how they were like attached to Square Enix, and you know that whole debacle. Then they like come out and now they're like fully attached to Nintendo. So it's really cool to like see that story and see how like gaming influences carried over, despite moving and going on to new IPs. It's a really interesting story. Highly recommend looking into it.
Do it. But if you're streaming while you do it, don't listen to music. Because your stream will get taken down.
It's
what we're talking about is it is a weird time. We're talking, of course, about some big changes to the terms of service that Twitch rolled out this week that I honestly think have been a little bit overblown as far as how people think it's going to change everything. And essentially, to boil it down, make it real simple, Twitch basically said, if you're playing music in the background, it's going to get copyright struck.
Unless it's free music.
Right.
Like copyright.
And that even applies retroactively to like clips that you had on your channel and whatnot. Now, what I said when this first happened and what has sort of started to happen is that, yes, the potential for that was there, but a lot of artists are like, no, I'm not going to press it. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, that's kind of it's kind of how I feel a lot of artists have done. It's just it's not up to them, right? If it's in their database and it catches by the algorithm, it's gonna flag it.
It's gonna flag it and maybe take it down, but like if the artist is fine, then it's just your clip gets taken down, you know?
Yeah. It's just a matter of how will they go about checking like if the artist is okay with it, and then like taking away one of your strikes because the artist is
That's
okay
the big
with
issue.
it. Yeah.
The real big issue actually is that Twitch just sort of like dropped this without any warning and without any tools in place for people to respond. Like you can't mass delete clips. So maybe you should have thought that through, Twitch.
Yeah, I mean, we just had our first live stream today when we were doing the Sony stuff, and
Are we banned yet?
and I've been doing that live stream stuff for other things over the last few months, and I've been looking into what the legal stuff is for music for quite some time. So I've basically
now it seems like you're basically just better off not bothering.
Yeah, it's better off just not doing it unless like it's your own created music or like I know like what's it my buddy Teja who runs Teja Types on Twitch. He did like a live stream with like a debut album from this jazz group. Like they asked him to play it on one of his streams as like the release. Like if you wanted to listen to it for the first time, like watch his stream.
That's cool.
I think some of those situations are probably the only things that is like super clear cut.
I've seen some examples where like Bungie, speaking of Bungie, they came out and were like, hey, like if you guys want to use any of the music from our games, like go ahead. It's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they enforce this over the next couple weeks, months. And if they might backtrack this a little bit, just because
I don't think they'll backtrack it because it seems like this was something that was sort of gonna happen.
Or I guess
it was sort of out of their hands.
I guess backtrack is the wrong word. I guess amend it.
I don't know if they'll amend it. I think what they will do is start to implement tools for streamers to better handle that sort of thing on their stream, like mass delete clips or give some form of the algorithm over to the content creators so they can check their stuff and see if anything would get flagged.
Sure. I think some artists too will probably just be like I don't care, it's better for me, it's more marketing.
Right.
And it's just how is Twitch going to be able to handle that? I think that's the amendment part that I was more gearing towards is what kind of tools are they going to offer both sides so that you can kind of work through some of the differences in opinion or what they want to do.
Sure. We will see.
We'll see.
But hey, speaking of Bungie, you and I both jumped back into Destiny this week.
We did. That was a weird. You guys played. You and Ben played for like quite some time, and then I jumped in because I didn't realize there was another update. And then we played for a little bit. So that's definitely a game that both of us are playing this week.
Also playing Xenoblade and all the above. But why don't we just go ahead? Let's make that round one. Let's pull an audible and just jump right in.
Round one.
So earlier this week on Tuesday, I believe, there was a big Destiny event where they revealed their plans for way further into the future than I anticipated. Actually, we'll talk about that. They did that.
I mean, the first thing they did was they did that
the live event,
big live event, yeah.
Not much to really say about that. I think a lot of people were underwhelmed because it was just one thing that took like an hour to happen.
Yeah, it was also the precedent that's set by like what happens in Fortnite and stuff that you expected it to be a little bit more grander.
Sure.
And it just didn't live up to that, which, I mean, just fine.
It's hard when your live event has to be like something that happens within the narrative of the game and not just a concert.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it probably could have been done better, but it was their first one.
It's fine. You get a pass.
They get a pass because of how hype the reveal event was. So let's dive into that because this is the meat.
Take me through it.
So new season started that Tuesday, like right after their event, the season of arrivals. That's what we're currently in. Some really, really interesting lore stuff is happening, but I won't get into that because it's too much and people may not even be interested.
It could be like an entire like pod series just by Jack alone.
I mean, I could literally have like a show about it. But the new season is in. There are new public events on Titan and IO. You and I have done them. They're real tough because we are severely underleveled.
Yeah, my weapons don't even work. It just says it. They're immune.
Yeah, that's where we're at. But the coolest thing is they added a new dungeon. For the unaware, dungeons are basically like mini raids. They have some actually really, really cool gameplay. Some of the coolest gameplay in Destiny, I would argue. And this one is, from what I've seen, pretty dope. Lives up to the hype. And this is going to hold us over until September 22nd, when the next big year of Destiny starts. So I think we're in year 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're in year 3.
I think this is year 2, and we're going into year 3.
Regardless, the number doesn't matter. On September 22nd, the new year begins with a new season that is insane just because of what is happening in the lore, what is happening with all of the new events. There's going to be a whole new map, which we haven't had in a real long time. We're going to Europa, which is a moon of Saturn, I believe.
Yes. Jupiter,
maybe Jupiter. But the reason that that's a big deal is because something exists on Europa called the Deep Stone Crypt, which for Destiny players, you may have noticed that every EXO, the robots in the game, have a number at the end of their name. Like Cade 6 was the big one, or like Banshee 44 is the gunsmith. That number correlates to how many times their consciousness has been reset by walking through or going through the Deep Stone Crypt. It's like how EXOs get made. And currently we have a very pressing need to make one because Rasputin just kind of got murked. And we got to put him in a body.
got to give him something.
So we're going to Europa. There's a new Fallen clan. Well, it's not new. The House of Devils has always been around, but they've sort of been in hiding. But they're there, and they, as well as us, will be handling a new element, completely new. We're finally wielding the darkness.
Oh, and these powers. Oh my goodness.
Stasis is the power.
Looks awesome.
So it's basically ice, but like it's ice in that you're freezing energy around you. So yeah, you're frozen, but you're not like cold frozen. You're frozen in time and space.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Doctor Strange does that like time thing and like breaks the time barrier and then like throws it at Thanos in Infinity War. It's kind of that type of look and feel, where it's not really something tangible, but it is something that's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And they did say that all 3 classes will get their own stasis abilities.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely basically a new like.
This has only happened once before in Destiny when they added new elemental classes.
Mm-hmm. And this will be a 4th one,
which is rad.
Right.
The other really cool thing is that someone who we haven't seen since the literal vanilla campaign of Destiny 1 is finally coming back. I'm talking about the Exo Stranger,
who gives you the gun at the end of vanilla Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And she's back.
She's back.
Back again. Yeah, you kind of wondered where she went.
We're gonna find out.
And now we're going to dive a bit more into her story.
So that's really, really, I'm really excited for that. But what's also exciting is that they detailed plans well beyond that even. They said that the current plan is to support Destiny 2 for 3 more years at least.
It's become a games as a service.
Yeah, I mean, now that they don't have Activision putting them on a schedule, they can safely not worry about making sequels and just continue to update Destiny. And that in order to do that, they have to restructure some things, which we'll get into. But first, let's talk about their plans. So we have the upcoming new season that we just talked about, September 22nd, and it's called Beyond Light. So we go to Europa, do all that stuff we just talked about. After that, in 2021, that's the only bit of data we got, we have The Witch Queen, which, for those of you that have been paying attention, means Savathun.
Yeah, which is another DLC package.
Finally. And then following that is a season called Lightfall, which will happen in 2022. And if you couldn't tell by the name, that kind of feels like something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably with the pyramids, because that's the symbol.
Yeah, so we're getting DLC, a roadmap of DLC up until 2022, which is crazy.
They actually have plans laid out through 2023, but they don't have named seasons for that.
Right. Yeah, I don't even know if you can call like this next like Beyond Light thing a season, because it's a brand new like package.
It's like an expansion.
Yeah, it's a total expansion package, which is kind of what they did with with like the Taken King and stuff like that. So it's in that mold, which I'm fully for, because this forces me to drop back into this and try and do some fun stuff with the clan and with the gang. For me, Destiny's always been about the community and like us playing together, like our group of friends. Like that's the best part. That's the only reason I play Destiny. So
we used to, I don't even know, because I used to have to do multiple, but we would have specific levers we had to pull for the shortcuts in Callus's raid.
Yep.
Love that. But so listeners, you're hearing us talk about all these plans going in, and you're probably thinking, but wait, doesn't that mean I'm leaving Destiny behind on my previous console? And good news, they announced that you can upgrade to the new one for free.
Yep. And
not only that, yeah, that's right. Not only that, there will be intergenerational crossplay, and hopefully by next year, full crossplay, just across everything.
Right.
I doubt it'll be console and PC crossplay. I think they'll probably have to segregate that just because it's unfair. But
yeah, so basically it means PS4 players can play with PS5 players, Xbox One X players can play with Xbox Series X players
at the beginning, but then later they are going to try and hook it up so PS5 players can play with Xbox One S players.
Yep. That's the long-term goal.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is the long-term goal for a lot of multiplayer games right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's a lot of hoops and hurdles that people need to jump through.
So it kind of talks about how in order to make all this happen, they have to do a bit of restructuring of how the game works. So what they're going to do is they're taking a page out of Disney's books, and they created the Destiny Content Vault. Pretty self-explanatory, but what they are doing is taking older, lesser played content, like probably the Callus raid, and they're vaulting it. Because what that does is give them more space to add new things in and also just optimize things.
Mm-hmm.
They said that doesn't mean they're going away forever. They will be tweaking them and bringing them back out at a later date. And this also brings into play things that were in OG Destiny 1. For instance, when the new season hits September, we're going back to the Cosmodrome.
Which is awesome.
The first map you load into in Destiny.
Yeah, I really like that map.
Yeah, it's awesome. Way better than European Dead Zone, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Same.
They also specifically mentioned that at some point in the near future, the Vault of Glass will be coming back, which is incredible.
Right. Which is another solid raid.
People still say that it's their favorite one.
Yeah, I've seen those takes too.
So yeah, a lot of Destiny news. It's a good time to play Destiny.
It's a good time to jump back in, especially with the base game being free.
That's right. I didn't even have to pay for this current season because I had some leftover silver from back in the day when we were playing, and I was able to buy it with that.
Even better. Even better.
I love it. You love
it's
to
free
see
99.
it. It's free real estate, baby. But here's what I want to say. If you're listening to this and you're saying that sounds really fun, but like that seems a little intimidating, what I would say to you is hit us up. We'll play with you.
Yeah. We definitely will.
We'll do that.
Yeah. Jack here helped me finish out what's it? The latest DLC. I needed to finish the final story mission, and they were way above my power level, so they just
I mean, I'm a certified rage Sherpa, baby. I'll do it. I'll do whatever.
Yeah, we just burned right through it. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to raise my light level.
Well, I'm ready to move on to round 2.
Round 2.
Let's do it.
I think let's save PlayStation for last. Let's talk about the new Pokemon updates.
This is a pretty hefty update too.
This will go quick though, because a lot of this we're just sort of reading through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it is. They're adding a lot of stuff. We'll just go down this list. They finally revealed Galarian Slowbro.
Love it.
He is Mega Man.
Yeah.
Poison Psychic, but yeah, the little guy that usually would bite his tail bit his hand, and now he shoots poison out of his Mega Man arm.
That works. Whatever works.
See. There's a huge. Well, they already announced this, but we got new looks at the new wild areas, which seem varied and very interesting. There seem to be a lot of new mechanics within them that they didn't really get into, like when they were biking around, specifically on the water. I think there were these little particles coming off the back. Who knows what that means?
It'll be like a poisonous area.
That, or like you're leveling something up as you go. Hard to say. We sort of got more info on how the new NPCs will function, how they'll tie into the new legendaries.
Yeah.
Which are broken competitively, by the way. They're going to be banned for sure. But we'll get into that. They teased some of the new Pokemon, or not new Pokemon, old Pokemon that weren't previously in the game that are coming back. There's a lot. We can't really list them all, but they're adding in a whole bunch. I think they're adding like 100 in the first round and 100 in the second.
I think the biggest ones, right, is what? Scyther, Tauros, Kangaskhan.
Gotta see if it's Caesar, though. Caesar, my boy.
Executor, Poliwhirl. I think those are like the big ones.
Talked about Cubfu.
Cubfu's great. It's freaking adorable.
They're adding in a new like item combination machine, which is honestly kind of surprised that hasn't been a thing in Pokemon games because that's kind of a JRPG staple. Big. Speaking of new Pokemon, they went into more detail about the new Regis.
Ooh.
There's a electricity and a dragon Reggie now.
Ooh.
The electric one has potential. He's pretty rad.
I'm a big fan of dragon type Pokemon, so maybe I'll dive into that one.
The cooler new legendaries though are the new legendary birds. They're Galarian forms of Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno.
Which in a weird way takes away from the fact that they're legendary Pokemon if there's different versions of them depending on the continent.
Well, so they're like, this is some Pokemon lore. You ready for this? There are tiers to legendary Pokemon. Some of them are like literal gods, and some of them are like a species. They're not like the only one.
They're like a super rare species.
Right.
Got it. So you're saying Moltres and Zapdos and Articuno fall into that. They're not like a Lugia or like a
Lugia
Entei.
and Ho-Oh are like
Ho-Oh.
They are like the big bosses of the legendary birds. They like the legendary birds report to them.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. If that's the case, that makes sense.
So Moltres is dark and flying. and he's a real edgelord. Zapdos is fighting and flying, which I think we've only had once before. And Articuno is psychic and flying.
I believe.
And he shoots laser beams out of his eyes.
Doesn't no, never mind. I can't think of the name of the Pokemon. I don't want to butcher it. So
Hawlucha, I think, is the only other fighting flying.
the
Pokemon.
fighting flying one, Hawlucha. Yeah, that sounds about right.
There's a lot of them. I could be wrong, but
no, I think that sounds about right. I think when you're in the wild zone, the Hawluchas fly around too. So
what else we got? They showed new. Oh, there's a new. I forget what they called it, but it's like you could go like defend your belt basically, but it's in doubles battles now. So like Leon and the Dragon Gym leader will fight together against you and Hop or you and Marnie.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. It gives more endgame content to you, right? Rather than just like, hey, you're the champ now.
Totally. And that brings us into sort of what this means for like the competitive scene, because not only are they adding all this stuff, but they added in the hidden abilities for the starters. Cinderace got a huge buff with that. My God.
Yes.
He got Libero, which is an ability that changes his type to whatever move he's using, which means it's always a stab move. That's crazy. They're adding in Blastoise and Venusaur, and they got Dynamax forms. What else? The birds look interesting. Articuno, I think, has the most potential competitively, but we'll see. Galarian Slowbro is actually kind of interesting. He has a unique move that when you attack, it does damage based on the weaker of your opponent's two defense stats, special or physical.
Huh. So it basically disregards one of them.
It attacks the weaker of the two.
Yeah. Oh, that's unique.
What else? Oh, the reason I said that the electric Reggie has potential. His name is Reggie Lecky is his name. I hate it. But he has a unique move that's basically Fire Spin, but it's electric, which is rad. Because trapping Pokemon is huge. Like not allowing them to switch out can really swing a match.
Yep.
Oh, well, let's get into now. I can get into why Urshifu is busted. So in competitive Pokemon, yeah.
Got it.
In the competitive scene, one of the sort of most important moves that you can have, like literally, if you can't think, like you want it on almost every Pokemon that you have, is Protect.
Yeah.
And Urshifu has an ability that just lets him ignore it. If you Protect, he can still hit you.
Huh. But I wonder what the damage output is for it. Like if it's like a heavy, if it's power attack, or it's the level of its attack is pretty high, or if it's just like one of those like.
I mean, it's a legendary. It's gonna be up there.
Oh boy.
I don't think there's a legendary that's like under 600 total for their base stats, which is really, really good.
Great. So people are going to be upset about this.
I think he's going to be banned for sure.
Yeah. Gotta nerf him, buddy.
That's dumb. I mean, that's dumb. It's insane. It's way too OP.
Gotta do what the competitive scene wants. Us people who just play the game normally doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you can abuse that all you want, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it all I want to win my trophies and my championship.
Oh, that is a cool note that in the new champion defense or whatever, you are wearing a champion uniform now,
which is awesome.
You got all your sponsors looking good.
Yep. Nothing says you're a champ outside of the commercial stickers that they post on you.
That's right. You got to represent for the brands, baby.
Yep.
But that's about it for Pokemon, which means it's finally time for the big guns.
Round 3.
It's round 3, and this is going to be a big one. Because today we finally got to see the PlayStation 5. I want your initial take. What do you think?
On the console?
Yes.
For all the flack it's taking and the memes that's being made, I actually think people really like. I think that people actually really like how the console looks. It's just
What do you think, though?
It's so memeable, and so off of that, I'm definitely in that camp of it looks great. I think it's fresher. Like it's not like just straight lines from an aesthetic point. Um, I think they're trying. I From like a design standpoint and my understanding of like what it looks to me, like Xbox is trying to make it where it's so easily like just meshable with all of your
They want it to be like a PC tower.
right. It's just something that you can put next to your TV and no one will make like much notice of. Like it'll seamlessly be a part of your entertainment like setup. I think what Sony's trying to do is make it the star of your entertainment setup. Like this is the thing you want to look at and
Yeah,
want to know what
it sort of highlights the different strategies that these consoles are taking for the new generation. Xbox it fits in with everything. Everything is on it. PlayStation is like, this is the high end.
Yeah. This is like where you want to be doing your gaming and stuff. Whereas Xbox is more of like, we just want this to fit into your daily lifestyle. Like they want the Xbox to be a part of your daily routine, regardless if you're like a avid gamer or not. But yeah, beyond that, I love how it looks. I love like the white. I've always been a sucker for like the off.
So you like the white.
Color.
Some people are like,
I'm a big fan of the white.
Some people I've seen are like, I would like it if it was black.
Yeah.
And they probably will make a black one for sure.
They'll make a whole bunch of ones. Like when like the next God of War one drops or God of War 2 drops, like they'll have a special edition like colorway for that. They'll have a special edition colorway for like the real next Spider-Man game that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have those. But initially I don't mind them going with the white, with a little bit more just pizzazz.
Sure.
It's great. I like it.
It's growing on me, I'll say. I think initially I was a little bit skeptical, and I think it's still like they're doing a little too much. Like, I get the whole thing, like they want it to be the high end, they want it to be like a thing that you're proud to have on your TV stand, but also like it's still just a box of technology. It doesn't need to be so extra. But I will say, what I really like is how obviously they worked in cooling the console to its design.
Yep.
It looks like it's almost built around keeping the console cool, which I quite appreciate because my PlayStation 4 sounds like a jet engine now.
Yeah, you saw like all the vents, like when they're doing like the wraparound of the device, and I think that was probably one of their like key things. Is like we wanted to get as much cool air into this thing as possible.
Yeah, because that SSD is gonna get hot.
Mm-hmm. And we don't want to have a lawsuit, like a class action lawsuit on our hands that, said that
somebody's house burned down.
This. But yeah, these things break down, and we knowingly did it. So I think they went above and beyond to make sure that it can't harken back to that.
Totally. I appreciate it.
I'm perfectly on board. I mean, I guess the other question I would ask on this to you is, what were your thoughts on them announcing their 2 versions before Xbox did?
Has Xbox not announced that they're gonna do that with the Series S?
They haven't. They've said that, there's been rumors and there's like another project name, but they've shown the one device and they haven't even said like if that one like is going to be the only device or not. And Sony just comes out and just says, here's our 2.
I guess I was just sort of assuming that they would because they are already doing it for the One X.
Right.
Or for the One. But that is interesting. So yeah, what Rob is talking about is that there are 2 versions of the PS5, one with a disc drive and one without. No price on it though. We do have some speculation though. But I think both Rob and I think it'll probably be at $500. And then the discless one maybe $100-$150 less than that.
Yeah, somewhere in the. I'm thinking somewhere that this list one probably is going to be listed at $349 or $399.
There's actually been a lot of interesting takes as people have sort of had some time to digest all of this. That like at first glance, it seems okay. They're making it one without a disk drive because one, they want to push digital sales, and two, they want a cheaper option. But it's also there's an aspect of it where like they benefit more from you not owning physical copies of games. Because if you have that, then you never need to worry again. You never need to rebuy it if it goes away. But if it's a digital copy, you get rid of that. Then like if they release a remaster, you need to rebuy it. There's a lot of people that are more intelligent than me talking about this right now, and they're still sort of formulating takes. But it's an interesting thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, even within our group of friends, we're like debating whether we're going to go the digital route or the drive route.
As someone who has almost exclusively gone digital, I still will probably want a disk drive just because I would like to have the option.
Yeah, it also for me depends right now on what they're going to say with backwards compatibility. Like the PS4 games I own right now that are on a disc, like what
Mm-hmm.
happens with those if I do decide to go the all digital route? Like, is there a way for me to get it onto the digital? Or do I need to buy the disc one in order to play it? If that's the case, then of course I'm gonna run with the digital version.
Right.
Or I mean the disc version. But yeah, it's still a lot of questions, and I'm sure they'll answer more as we go on because they haven't really talked about the new enhancement stuff either, with like backwards compatibility. I'm sure they'll answer it with that.
Mm-hmm. I was actually surprised that we didn't hear anything about their version of smart delivery today, but this was very focused on just games, so I get it.
I actually thought that was what they were going to share, not the console itself. But now that
Mm-hmm.
they've showed the console off, I can easily see them going into another one of these where it just goes over the console, what the UI feels like, what the console looks like, and then the pricing plus like what their smart delivery thing is like for another hour.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how Apple does their like iPhone reveals, where they like have like different directors or heads of departments, like how they built the
Sure.
thing and the software behind it, and they kind of talk about it. I think they'll have that type of presentation down the line. Probably, I would ballpark estimate somewhere in August or September. But yeah,
I think the only other noteworthy thing about the physical console itself that we should mention is that it seems to only have a single USB port, which you might not think is a big deal, but for people that play like a lot of fighting games, they use like Smash boxes. Those usually require two USB ports.
maybe they'll come out with some like adapter.
Yeah, that's the joke is that you'll have to buy like a $50 dongle.
Yep.
So it goes. But yeah, so like we said, the big part of this event was not just the console. I mean, that was definitely hype and it was a big deal, but the majority of what they focused on was games. And there was a lot of them.
We started the
I think
front and go
I
to
think
the
I
back,
saw
or
that
did
there
we
was
go
like 30 some.
Yeah, I think you're right. So where do we start? Do we start at the
Let-
front of the show and work our way like to the end, or do we start at the
Yeah,
end of
let's
the show?
go chronologically.
All right, hit me.
I got to get this list pulled up. So let's see. Well, I know what they started out with. It was Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, which all right. I played this game on the Xbox 360, and I guess some people are still going to be playing it on the next generation. So
I mean, at this
I don't
point,
get
it
how
has
this
also
game's
sort
still
of like
surviving.
Destiny become a platform. So I get announcing it, but I guess they wanted to start slow.
Yeah, either that or just get it out of the way.
Right. I mean, it does still make a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. One of Rockstar's
And that's why
pillars.
that's why I feel like it was worth putting in the thing, because a lot of people have invested a lot into that game. So they probably enjoy knowing that it's going to carry forward.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And I think right after that was Miles.
Yeah. That was the next one. Spidey.
So I think you were the first one to say this on our stream, and I now fully agree. So I'll let you sort of explain what we think this is.
The way and I'm even more cemented in our thought process with this because of how the title is. It's Spider-Man : Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
I think the initial thing for me was, if it's not Peter Parker, the way they set up the ending of the first Spider-Man game was setting up, and spoiler alert, was setting up Green Goblin and Venom. But if you're not going that Peter Parker route and you're adding what looks like brand new bosses, like big super bad enemies, then it's definitely a spin-off. And if it's a spin-off, then the development for this game actually is easier, because if it's all taking place back in Manhattan, you already have all those assets. If you're using the same engine, you have those assets. And all you need to do is recreate the main character and switch it to Miles, and then just have a brand new story just set within that environment that you've already pre-created. So I think our thought process here was, it's very much going to be like the Uncharted spin-off that they had.
Mm-hmm. I tweeted that it's like Spider-Man Left Behind.
Right. So I think that's kind of what I'm thinking, and particularly because the title is like so as well.
Right. But I'm here for more Spider-Man, and it seems like they're gonna make the swinging more like Miles, which is rad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's a full price game, and that it's like a full game experience.
What was the? Did they charge 60? I think they charged like 40 for that Uncharted.
Yeah,
expansion.
Somewhere between 40 and 30 is what they charge. So I'm hoping that it's a full $60, because that would mean it'd be like they put a lot of time and effort into like making it a full game experience, even though they reuse the assets.
Do you think we'll get a new area, or do you think the map's the same?
I think the map has to be the same. Maybe you get one more borough, like maybe you get Brooklyn. Because I believe in the original game you could swing across the Brooklyn Bridge to a certain degree, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think you could. But then you have to turn around. So yeah, if that's the case, I think that's what they'll do. They might add one more borough. But other than that, I think it's gonna be an outstanding game. You know that Insomniac's gonna do a great game with this, and
yeah.
Plus, they're saying it's gonna release during the holiday season, which makes me feel like it's gonna be a launch title or something.
If you can call an expansion a launch title.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, give it to me. Make it a full price game. I'm willing to pay the full price if you're gonna give me that much content. Don't care if you reuse the assets at all.
My one hope is that they not fix, because it wasn't like it was broken. The combat got really boring after a while, and I hope they add some spice to it.
Yeah, the combat got boring towards the end because it felt very quick timey as you got towards the bigger bosses.
It got old for me early on, because they introduce all of the enemy types, and then that's all. They never add any more.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no incentive to try out new like suits with new powers. Like if you find a formula that works, you can just kind of do the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's kind of what I did with the Iron Spidey armor. It was like
right.
The ultimate from that was just super helpful in crowd control.
So I hope they tweak that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
After that was your racing game, Gran Turismo.
Called it. Told you there's going to be a racing game.
You're smart and also quite handsome.
Glorified tech demo.
Yeah, this is like, here's how pretty things can look.
Yeah.
They love that. And then Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. For me, I think I wasn't sure if they were gonna put a platformer out there again, as like a starting game. They didn't put a date on this, but I do think it'll probably be a launch title or somewhere close to it. And I hope they kind of do what they did with the first one, which is they released a movie alongside the game, which is basically the game in movie form.
So this isn't this is they did this when they remade the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was what, like 2 years ago or last year.
I think a couple years.
Yeah. So I hope they do that again with this. My
Time
niece and
time
nephew,
doesn't
like,
exist
loved
anymore.
watching that movie because I showed it to them. The game's super fun. Like I was saying that on our stream, it's just like a super easy third person shooter. Like kids can play too. It's like very
Mm-hmm.
very like comedic. Like some of the weapons are hilarious. Like the disco ball gun,
The
or
humor
like
in it
shoot
is
the
very
disco
good.
ball out, and then it forces everyone who's in that immediate area just starts dancing. So you can just like pick them off while they're dancing. Yeah, and this is like someone said it right. It's like Ratchet and Clank into the Ratchet verse.
Right.
I can't remember who said that in our chat, but someone said that. That's pretty much what it is.
That's because at the end of this trailer, you see a female Ratchet pop up all of a sudden.
Yep. And Clank asks, or like talks as if it's Ratchet, but then she says, "Who's Ratchet?"
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I'm sure there's already a ton of porn about her too.
Oh God,
That's the internet, baby.
it is.
Let's move on before we get any deeper into that. I think we decided that we were going to pronounce this Athia, Project Athia.
Athia.
This is a Square Enix joint, Square Enix and Luminous Productions. We really don't know much about it.
Yeah. The only thing we know about this game was that this was the game that they showed as the Unreal Engine tech demo.
Right.
That's all we know.
So you play a young woman. She has a lot of magical powers. She can like make roots come out of the ground. She can fly around, and that's about all we know.
I mean, the game looks beautiful, by the way, with the new Unreal Engine.
Totally.
It looks absolutely beautiful.
Very, very wilderness based.
Yeah. I mean, the background setting for this game kind of looked like a fusion between Uncharted 4 and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Sure.
Just like the environment aesthetics. But yeah, absolutely looks beautiful. But there's nothing more to say about
Yeah, because that's all we got.
Yep.
This was followed by Cat Game.
Oh, Stray.
You play a cat walking around in a city.
Yes. This is what GameSpot.
A city full of robots, I should answer. It seemed like humans had died out.
Yeah, so this is what GameSpot has, and I'm sure they got this from like a press release, but it says Annapurna Interactive revealed a robot-focused game called Stray set in a world where humans have died off. Cats, however, are still in abundance, and the robots appear to be replacing humanity in their old roles. It sports a neon-infused aesthetic. It's coming in 2021. Our dear friend Ethan, once again, was on the stream, was like, "Where can I pre-order this?" Like this is up his alley.
It's I like the aesthetic. It's like almost cyber. It's like not quite cyberpunk, but it's in that arena.
Yeah. It's not full on cyberpunk, but it does.
It's a little bit more dystopian.
Mm-hmm. I'm intrigued to see like what the gameplay is like. If it's like a side-scrolling like story game, or if it's
I want to see what you do as the cat for sure. Okay, up next, a real doozy, because everyone watching this was like, okay, this is some new Kojima stuff. And then, oops, nope, it's Capcom. Or no, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Returnal was something different.
Yeah, Returnal was Tom Cruise's Edge of Tomorrow in a video game form with a woman on an alien planet.
And she's like going insane because she's in a roguelike and she knows it.
Yep. She just keeps dying over and over again. And apparently the environment and the planet changes every time she dies too. So yeah, it's gonna be one of those.
Seemed neat. Up next was another. So they had a couple of these. The Ratchet was another one where it's like they're pulling a franchise out of the vault, and we're getting a new little big planet. It's called Sackboy. They're rebranding.
Does this mean I get points for my my prediction?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. All right. So yeah,
I loved the Little Big Planet games. Loved them.
it's a great couch co-op game to play with friends.
It was Mario Maker before Mario Maker was a thing.
Yeah. And now it's yeah, it says it's a action-oriented gameplay and a 3D platforming rather than the 2D of the first three games. That's
The
probably
first
why they
games
changed the
had
name.
some 3D, but this was like a lot.
Yeah. So this is probably why they changed the name, because it's like going in a totally different
Sure.
genre and direction.
Sure. I'm into it. Big fan.
I think
Up
you were
next-
really hyped about the next one.
It's like I wouldn't say I'm hype about it. I think it just looks like it'll be good, decent fun.
Yeah.
We're talking about Destruction All-Stars, which I think we settled on a comparison that it is Titanfall plus Rocket League plus Twisted Metal.
Yep. And the character, but your like human characters look like Fortnite characters.
Yeah, that very much that sort of cartoony aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by Lucid Games. It's a
Seems neat.
yeah, an action sports game.
Following that was okay. So how do we think we're going to pronounce this one? Was it Kena?
Kena.
Kena, Kena. This is a very. There were a lot of games that had very similar styles. This is something we'll talk about in a little bit. But you play a girl walking through a very wooded area. She has like magical powers and also little Ni no Kuni Pikmin friends that help her out.
Yeah, I told you this is Pikmin for the PlayStation.
The cool thing that I want to note about this is I'm going to pull it up so I get the name of the studio right. The people that developed it,
Ember Lab.
They got really big several years ago because they made an incredible Majora's Mask short. Like they basically made a trailer as if Majora's Mask was getting a huge 3D remaster. If you haven't seen it, look it up because it's so cool.
And that's the studio that's doing it.
Right.
Okay.
You haven't seen it?
I have not, but I did see you posted in the Discord, so I'll take a look later tonight.
It's really well done.
All right. Kena, Bridge of Spirits, you have piqued my interest.
Following that was Goodbye Volcano High, the furry game.
Yeah. This was weird. This one's weird. This one feels like a...
It felt very Night in the Woods for me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's going to be a very
almost like
story-based game.
Yeah, totally. I think that's all we have to say about it.
Yeah.
Oddworld Soulstorm, which is a name that sounds like it should be a meme.
Kind of creepy looking.
That's Oddworld.
Mm-hmm. It's super dark. It's like a side-scrolling platformer, but then it has like this like weird like action brawler type feel to it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's it? Kind of like Metal Slug ish.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sort of
around.
reminds me of, not in the side-scrolling aspect, but like in the combat aspect. Like it reminds me a little bit of Gauntlet.
Yeah, aesthetically, that's what it looks like.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's like the Gauntlet aesthetic fused with like the Metal Slug or Contra type like side-scrolling as like one-dimensional.
Yeah. I don't know if you've played any of the Trine games, but that's also like a side-scrolling kind of thing.
I have not.
They're
but I'm
pretty
assuming
good.
it's in the same vein.
Pretty good platforming. But yeah, looks real dark.
Super dark.
I think a game that's supposed to be dark, but I will never be able to look at it very dark because of the outrageous hand motions that your character does. Ghostwire Tokyo, which we had seen previously before.
GameWorks.
I think this article says E3 2019. Yeah, we saw it a while ago.
Yep.
Looks neat. You seem to be like a karate exorcist.
Yeah, it's very weird.
And you make a lot of hand movements.
Yeah, it has because Bethesda's involved, like you have the very what's it, Dishonored type
Mm-hmm.
look, like from a
Mm-hmm.
first person like action game. But also the world also looks very like Mirror's edgy.
It looks. What
Very
was
like
that?
clean.
We Happy Few, where everybody was wearing
Yeah,
masks. Like it's that vibe for sure.
yeah. Uh, yeah, but it has like the super like clean look to the world
Mm-hmm.
and the color schemes, like very very clean and crisp. Lots of white, lots of like white, grays, black.
That was actually something that I noticed because this is sort of the first console generation where we're going to experience big diminishing returns on graphical improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it seems like a lot of companies, instead of maybe trying to like push graphics to their absolute limit and make everything as real as possible, they're saying, okay, we have all this power. Like, let's make some aesthetic choices. Let's go out there. Let's make things look unique. And I appreciate it so far.
Yep, I totally agree.
Following Ghostwire Tokyo, Jet the Far Shore, which, according to the trailer, is a game where you fly around in a spaceship.
Yeah, this was like a little bit more pixelated version of No Man's Sky.
There really wasn't much to go on in the trailer. You just flew around.
Yep.
Godfall came after that.
Interstellar.
Yeah, totally.
What's it? Soundtrack.
Yeah. Godfall was next, which we saw at last year's E3. It's
And they said
the
it
new. I think they're trying to be a live service game that seems like they're going for a mix of like Monster Hunter and the future, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Like it's
that,
medieval,
like,
it's medieval, but there
futuristic
seems to be technology too.
Yeah.
But the combat is very Monster Hunter.
Yeah. The look to me is like a fusion between Diablo and For Honor. It's like right in the middle there in terms of like
It feels very Warhammer almost.
Oh yeah, even better, even a better comp. Yeah.
But I officially hate this game because they said that you are looking for godlike armor. So I'm out. And that's the T. Solar Ash was next. This is from the creators of Hyperlight Drifter, and you want to talk about an aesthetic.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
It seems to be sort of platformy. I think a lot of people, when it first started out, made the connection to like Journey because you're walking through environments that look very similar to that. But towards the end, you started to see a little bit of like platforming that was really interesting. So I'm interested.
Yeah. It's I mean, they hit with Hyper Life Drifter, so I don't see why they wouldn't be even better with like another indie type feel of this.
For sure. You're pretty hyped about the next one. Hitman 3.
Yep. I mean, they've done a great job since they've rebooted the series, and this one feels like it might be a little bit bigger, a little bit more sandbox, like an even bigger sandbox than the previous games.
We've only seen they only announced one location so far, right?
It
Dubai.
kind of felt like two because the trailer had like a giant like house
in the
like
woods,
forest area.
But they said the only one they officially announced was Dubai.
Got it. Yeah, but the initial trailer was like him in like a forest, right? Like
right,
up,
like taking people out.
Yeah. So maybe it's those two. Maybe the forest and the house thing is like your tutorial thing.
Could
like
be.
Dubai is like the first actual mission. But yeah, it does seem like they're gonna keep on that trend of like it being episodic, where they release like another mission like every month.
If it ain't broke,
don't fix it. Don't fix it. It works, and it's gonna even look more beautiful. I mean, the game already looked beautiful in the previous games, and they're just gonna make it look better with the new power that they have. So I'm for it.
Totally. Up next was the new Astro Boy game. For the unaware, Astro Boy was a PlayStation VR title that actually I think a lot of people really liked it.
Yeah,
this is not VR.
This is Astro's Playroom.
and it looks extremely Mario.
Yeah, and it's just those Astrobots that you just like play around with.
I think it's also, I want to pull this up. According to trailer description, it comes preloaded on the PS5. So,
Yep.
so it's like when you buy the
Free
console,
game.
you buy the game.
Yep, comes with it.
Which, if the platforming is good, dope.
Yeah, don't you remember they had this for the PlayStation 4 where like you could it like views like inside of your PlayStation controller and like you can shake your controller.
Yeah,
and
the
then
gyroscope.
Astrobots that are in your controller like shake around too with it. Like it was like a cool tech demo to see like the what's it the
Gyroscope.
gyro tech
Scope.
what's that word?
Gyroscope.
The gyroscope that's like in the accelerometer that's in the PlayStation controller.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a cool tech demo with it. So I'm sure it's in that vein, but with a little bit more platforming and a little fun.
Totally. The next game I think is one of the ones I'm most excited about of the whole thing, to be honest. Little Devil Inside. The aesthetic is super unique. It's very like, it's cartoony, but it's also almost like Lovecraftian in a way.
It's like the Night in the Forest meets crap, I just had it on me. Sorry, come back to me on this.
So what it is, it seems very, another game that seems to be borrowing a lot of Monster Hunter ideas where there are literal monsters that you're hunting. They looked very cryptid-y, if you want like a sort of vibe for the monsters, not dinosaur-y.
Yeah.
There also they seem to be laying the foundation for a bit of tension between what looks to be the player character and the people that get to stay home and not get chased by monsters.
Yeah,
I don't
either
know.
that or it felt like you were being commissioned by like the town to go like
Yeah. But it looks rad. A lot of like way more exploration than I would have thought at the beginning of the trailer. The combat seemed pretty involved and deeper than you would think for a game with that aesthetic.
I remember the game now. It's Journey. It's like a Night in the Forest meets Journey.
See, this is where I'm saying like a lot of these games had very similar feels.
Yeah, aesthetically.
Like this is the second one we've compared to Journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one looks rad. I'm into it.
Not only was this gameplay like super good, this was arguably the best like beginning to end trailer of a game.
It was funny. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Our friend Darren would be happy that we're now grading trailers.
Totally.
This one, by far, this was the highlight of the show in terms of like as a trailer build.
Shout out to the Papa. Up next was a very sweaty Zion. NBA 2K21. Sports games love to show a shot of how well the game renders sweat.
Yeah,
they love that.
I mean, but to be fair, we did see Zion just like sitting like the real Zion in front of a camera before we saw a sweaty computerized Zion.
Very obviously reading from the teleprompter. Yeah,
wasn't looking at the camera at all.
He's a busy man. No time to memorize lines. He's got to go get sweaty in a video game. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a real lot of NBA 2K, which is good. Those are good games. The next one was a trip.
This one was the creeper one.
This is the Vor game.
Mm-hmm.
Bug Snacks, where you are food that eats other food that is sentient and at some point seems to become malicious. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me read you what GameSpot has, because I think this is like the perfect encapsulation of it.
Hit me.
It says it's a charming game that features a Steve Irwin style wildlife expert. Bug Snacks is from the creators of Octodad. Creatures are a mix of bugs and snacks such as burgers and strawberries. It looks very bizarre to say the least, and will be out this holiday season.
If you guys don't know what Octodad is, look it up because it is so entertaining. You basically controlled an octopus that was trying to pass itself off as a human, and you quapped around and tried to do normal human things.
Yeah, the physics engine in it was like really well made.
So the studio has a track record of good stuff, but it's probably a little too trippy for me. I'm probably not into it.
Yeah, I don't know how else to explain this other than you have to just go watch the trailer yourself.
Yeah,
There's no other way to explain
but I'll tell you what I am into.
it. Ooh.
Demon Souls.
No, Jack, you gotta say it the exact right.
Demon's Souls.
There you go.
This had been a rumor going around for a long, long time. I actually had a note in our rundown that I put in earlier in the week that this was a rumor that it would happen at this event. But, oh man, did it look good. It looked so good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing here that I'm reading off the GameSpot article is that they're thinking that it's a much more than just a simple increase in
Mhm.
resolution. From Software's masterpiece has been completely overhauled, and it looks like it was created specifically for the PS5.
Yeah. They've already said that they're adding a new system to the combat. I'm looking it up real quick because I want to get the wording right. Fractured mode. Except now apparently that's been removed from the trailer description, but there's a new sort of, maybe it's like a permadeath kind of thing, who knows. But Demon Souls, if you guys aren't aware, was From Software's sort of OG joint, and it is a masterpiece. So getting this remaster is going to be insane. It looks incredible.
Lovely.
Rob, you're going
I
to
know
play
you're
it,
excited.
and you're going to beat Bloodborne too. Moving on. Deathloop. This is another aesthetic that I was incredibly into.
Yeah, they showed this off last year, or they at least announced it last year. We actually got to see gameplay this year.
This is another game like what was dumb name game? Returnal, where the characters are like aware that they are in a sort of roguelike loop. But in this one, the guy is just a means to an end, and he's facing off against a girl, and they're totally going to make out at some point. I'm calling
She's
it
a
now.
rival assassin.
They're going to make out.
Yeah, I mean, it's by Arcane Studios, right? So as we were watching it, we all said, and our friend Dallas, who's super into all these Bethesda games, was like, this is
Mhm.
very much Dishonored, but just in like a time loop type setting.
Right. It looks super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very fluid. Like I said, the aesthetic is very. I think we said it on like it's like very 80s Hollywood.
Yeah, that was like the trailer aesthetic to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of like Tarantino movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much like the Kill Bill type
Definitely.
trailers. Yeah, I mean,
Next.
Arcane does a great job with like with making the game interesting in terms of like the superpowers,
Right.
and the abilities you can do. So, color me intrigued.
Definitely. I'm more than intrigued about the next one.
Oh God,
Resident Evil 8 Village.
this one just looks scary. Like just looks ridiculously horror scary.
Resident Evil 7 was really, really good.
I mean,
I'm excited about this.
isn't this basically 7 just in a village setting? Like, and I'm not saying that in like a bad way. I'm just saying like it's gonna be even scarier because you're not like in an enclosed house, right?
Mhm.
You're in like a larger space.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
A larger space with a community that seems to be organizing against you.
yeah. The more people, like what? Resident Evil 7 in that house had what, like 4 people
Something like that.
in that house? And now you have an entire village that you have to like navigate. Oh my
Was that Chris Redfield that showed up in the end after
Yep.
he let himself go? Put on some weight, my dude.
Yeah, he did. This is I wonder what the timeline is gonna be, like from the end of 7.
Look, he saved the president's daughter and lived a cushy life.
Did you play Resident Evil 7?
No, I didn't play that.
So he actually shows up, spoiler alert.
I did. I know
the
that.
very
I
end
know.
of the
I know
game.
that he does.
Yeah. So that's what I'm wondering is how far from the end of that game is this game?
We'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
2021.
the next game is the one I started to talk about earlier. The game that we all thought was a Kojima joint. Turned out it was Capcom. It's called Pragmata.
Yeah. This felt
This is
very,
another.
very
This is another one that
Kojima-esque.
you kind of just need to go watch.
Yeah. We can't explain it much. It's just like a lot of anti-gravity stuff.
Apparently, it's supposed to be post-apocalyptic.
And Capcom.
I'm intrigued, at least.
Yeah.
There's cool stuff going on. Like, you are this like space suit man, but you have a little girl who seems to be some sort of technomancer. Like, she can create sort of technology with her mind.
Yeah. She's like an AI. She like doesn't even get like phased that she's like in outer space without a suit on.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Actually, the reason I didn't think that, or I thought this might have been the Kojima thing, but then I realized it might not be, was because there was a release or a leak that came out a couple days ago saying that the next Kojima thing was like on hold or had been canceled.
Well, also, people, since this was announced, looked back and like Capcom filed this copyright like a year ago, and people like talked about it.
Yeah, so this was.
It's just such a out there name that nobody was able to be like, that's probably a game.
Yeah.
We need to see more about it.
Yeah, but then the last one has both of us hyped.
It happened. We both. I think I was the one that said the prediction, but we both made the prediction that this would happen.
Yeah.
The new Horizon Forbidden West, which, if you recall, people that play the base game, going to areas west of like the original area you were in, where the Nora live, was forbidden, and then going west of there is even more forbidden. So that's where the name comes from. But it looks like she goes real far, because you saw like China, you saw San Francisco.
Yeah, I think
the original game takes place like around Colorado, so.
Yeah, I think what Dallas said might be right. I don't. He said in the chat when we were watching this live, it might not be China, but just
Chinatown
in San Francisco.
Yeah, totally.
Because initially it felt very China-esque.
You see a literal dragon.
Yeah, it felt like very South China-esque, and then we saw the Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
So.
It looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. You can swim now. She has like a respirator device. You can swim underwater. It looks incredible.
Yeah. And now you know like the bad enemy, like that they like revealed like towards the end of the original game. You see him for a little bit.
Yeah, so in the original game you sort of defeated his attempt to wipe life out, basically, but it seems like they maybe are trying to start that back up again because they're killing stuff.
Yeah, or taking over stuff.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. So yeah, the game looks great. I think they're making this game like into another level of scale. They had already done that with the first game, right? With like just the incredible like big robots, like the alligator and so on. And the tall necks. But like now at the end of the trailer, we saw her taking on what looks to be an elephant robot.
Like straight out of Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Scale is also something I want to talk about, but in a different fashion. It seems like from the little bit of we saw, and who knows how much of that was actual gameplay, but then some of the images seem to sort of be paying homage to Breath of the Wild. It feels like they're trying to make the world as open as Breath of the Wild was, because that was one of the big criticisms of the original Horizon's open world, was that, yes, it was a huge open world, but it was an open world with paths that you had to stick to.
Yeah, or like level barriers, right? Like there were certain places that were like super way high level that you needed to get to a certain point before you could enter.
It seems like they want it to be much more open.
Right. Which, in a way, fits into the narrative of the story. Because if you're going to a place that's forbidden and you don't know anything about, there shouldn't be areas that, like, deter you because you're not strong enough. Like,
right.
All in all, the entire area should be, like, difficult.
Intimidating.
Right? Um, and so yeah, if they go that route, I'm so on board with it.
Totally.
Where it just like constantly scales to when you level up. You know, like if you first start the game, you're level 1. You could go to anywhere in the map, and everyone will be like at your level. But then as you level up, like the entire game like levels up with you, and it
Hmm.
scales to that, which I think would be awesome.
Whatever they do, I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. You know they're gonna do. Guerrilla Games, man, they've really turned it around since the Killzone days.
Bangers. They're putting them out.
Really hit with this one. So yeah, they didn't put a date
No,
on this
no
at
date.
all.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
no date, which sort of makes me feel good about my prediction that it's not necessarily launch. Probably, I'm sticking with February still.
Got it. February. I think my take is, and I'm gonna be like the hype optimistic version of this, is that they're trying to make it release sometime close to launch. Like let's say launch is like the end of
Like
October
closer
or
than
November.
February.
Huh?
Okay, so you're saying okay, keep going.
Yeah, I'm saying like if the console launches, let's say in October or November, then I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to hit that like Black Friday or Christmas date. And if they can't hit it, then they're just gonna push it to like, mid 2021 or like early 2021. Um, but they still have time that they can change that date, right? Because you only need about a month for the game to go gold. So realistically, you don't want to crunch, but you could probably make that decision probably in August.
Hmm.
Give it more time to see if they'll finish in time.
Something that we should also note is that Guerrilla Games is based in the Netherlands.
Right.
So I honestly don't know what the situation is like over there with pandemic. I don't know if they're back open. I don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
it's
It could be.
it's something we need to take note of because that will absolutely affect how quickly they're able to finish the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like my train of thought with this too, right? Is I think they kind of wanted this to be a launch title, but the last 3 months have pretty much derailed that schedule. I think they're kind of hoping that it stays on track, and maybe if they can release it sometime and then great, awesome. But if not, I don't think they'll have an issue doing it. I mean, that added
No.
with the fact that the supply chain for the PS5 might not be as strong and easily accessible right now. So
Well, that, and I mean, I've
yeah,
said this before, but early adopters are going to early adopt almost regardless. That's just I mean, that's why they're early adopters. That's what they do.
yeah,
Um, what Sony needs is a banger like Horizon to come out once the initial excitement about the new console releasing has started to fade a little bit, and that
yeah.
would be right around February.
I think you and I are on the same train of thought. My thought process is, from Sony's perspective, if they can launch it with that, then they would get more people to buy their consoles to begin with. Um, but like if you can't, then I think that's the secondary marketing track you go for is you start selling your console and you have a game like this come out 2 to 3 months within the launch, and everyone's rushing to buy consoles too just because they want to play this
Totally. I want to play it right now.
game. Ways to go, my friend. It's only June, but in a week's time, we'll be playing a story game that we've been waiting for over 10 years.
Yeah, it's way closer. I can't believe it's only like a week away.
Yeah.
The review embargo drops tomorrow, Friday.
Right. Yep. And I know a lot of places that are dropping it actually. We're recording this. It's 10:05 p.m. on the West Coast. I know they're dropping it at 12:01. So I'm seriously debating whether to watch a review thing, like a spoiler-free review. I mean, I'm gonna play the game regardless, but I just want a little bit more like.
I'm gonna
taste.
check right now and see if there's any Metacritic scores yet. I don't see any. The embargo might be Pacific time though.
Yeah, it might. I think it's midnight Pacific time. I think that's when the embargo drops.
That would make sense.
But yeah, we covered everything.
We did it.
Woohoo!
It's a big week. And next week is only going to be bigger because, like you said, it's Last of Us is coming in hot.
Yeah. You won't have our initial takes on Last of Us next week, but the following week you will.
I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. But that's gonna do it for us this week. Rob, let them know where they can follow you.
You can find me on Twitter at Rob11HWANG.
You can find me at Jack Peglow. You can find Friendlies at FriendliesPod. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We co-streamed the PlayStation event. I think the plan is to try to do that with most, if not all, of the big events they're gonna do over the next summer.
Yeah. It's our the Sony videos, or the reveal videos already up on YouTube, so you can watch there.
Check it out.
Rewatch there.
Like and subscribe. Smash that follow button. You know the drill. And until next week, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Peace.